Pledge your support to the eventual nominee of the Republican Party and pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person. Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump.
Okay, let's jump right into this thing. Fox News ambushed Donald Trump last night, or they tried to ambush Donald Trump last night. Right out the gate, you asked Donald a question that you already know the answer to. Okay. Now, if that wasn't enough, you're going to dig up, all night long, you're just digging up things that happened in Donald's past.
Its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account...
Thank you.
For the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Your Twitter account has several disparaging comments about women's looks. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president? And how will you answer the charge from Hillary Clinton, who is likely to be the Democratic nominee, that you are part of the war on women?
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either. This country is in big trouble. We don't win anymore. We lose to China. We lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to everybody. And frankly, what I say, and oftentimes it's fun, it's kidding, we have a good time, what I say is what I say. And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that. But you know what? We need strength, we need energy, we need quickness, and we need brain in this country to turn it around. That I can tell you.
Stayed on the Donald all night long. He didn't get a softball question thrown at him. Now, the Donald's a tough New York guy, Brooklyn guy, so he could take it. But it just looked to me that Fox is trying to bring this cat down. And for what reason, right? Let the people decide whether or not they want Donald Trump. I don't think the media, whether that's the so-called liberal media or Fox News, should be trying to dictate who the people should be considering for the nation's highest office. And then that Frank Lunk's group at the end, that so-called focus group.
Megan, we're about to make some news tonight. I want you to watch how they voted. When you walked in here, how many of you had a positive opinion of Donald Trump? Raise your hand. Overall. How many of you have a positive opinion of him now? Who is negative towards Trump when you walked in here? Who's negative now? What happened? You were a Trump supporter when you walked in.
Yes, Frank. You know what happened? I liked him when I came in here because he wasn't the politician. But right now, he skirted around questions better than a lifelong politician ever had.
Anthony, what was your reaction to Trump?
I was really expecting him to do a lot better, but he just crashed and burned. He was mean. He was angry. He had no specifics. He was bombastic.
Eli, you walked in here a Trump supporter. What happened?
You know, he just let me down. I just expected him to rise to the occasion and look presidential.
It's a bunch of crap. There's nothing that, if you were a Donald Trump fan or supporter going into the debate last night, there's no way you can tell me that coming out of the debate, you changed your mind all of a sudden based off his performance. Because the Donald was the Donald last night. Was he polished? No, but he never claimed to be a polished politician. He told you going in that he wasn't a polished politician. Fox is trying to shape what the voters should think about the candidates. For whatever reason, they don't like the Donald. Now, I've said in my previous blog posts that I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, right? But I can't sit idly by and say nothing when somebody's being ambushed for whatever reason under the guise of the media. And Fox News is supposed to be fair and balanced, man. But what they did last night, that was crazy. It's like they went in with an agenda that we're going to make Mike Huckabee look presidential. We're going to make Ted Cruz look presidential. And we're going to make Marco Rubio look presidential. How you do that? You throw questions at them that they had to answer, that they already know the answer to. How are you going to ask Ted Cruz, will he support the no sanctuary for cities on the immigration and the Steinley law? Even before he answered, I was like, yes. Of course he's going to. That's a softball question. Then you're going to come back and ask the Donald about his bankruptcies. And then when he answered the question, you don't like it, so you delving into it even more. He explained to you about his bankruptcies. Right? It's like Fox went in with an agenda that we're going to bring the Donald down a few notches, if not knock him off his horse altogether. And I listened to some of the media commentators saying, oh, it's because he's the front runner. Since when do you start dictating who gets the tough questions based on where they are in some polls that came out, that are out months before the election, months before the initial Republican primary? That's not your place. I mean, if you're going to ask tough questions to everybody. Now, one time last night, did Fox give the Donald a softball question that he could really get his chops into? And they gave everybody one of those. At least one. And a lot of them, they gave a whole great deal of them to. And so, again, and I thought that Donald really handled himself well, considering. And because he was the Donald. So, like I said before, if you were a Donald supporter going into last night's debate, I don't see anything there that should be taking you away out of his camp. Now, going forward, when additional questions come, when about policy specifics and all that, and the people will judge the Donald based off his responses and how they feel about his responses. But that's for the people to decide. It shouldn't be Fox trying to decide, media trying to decide how to frame the opinion around the Donald. And I think that's what the Fox News tried to do last night. They know the Donald's going to face challenges outside the 20 to 25% of the Republican base that is, supporting him right now. But you still got to give the man a chance to expand his base. He has to do it. The media can't decide for themselves who should be a viable candidate. And I saw last night, I watched a little bit of the so-called happy hour, or little kids table debate, and Carla Farina is supposed to be the new rising star. And look, there's no doubt in my mind that Carla Farina is a talented woman. She was a CEO of a major corporation. But there's something about Carly, man, that it's like a school mom. And I don't know if that's going to be someone that people would like to be in the Oval Office. I could see her as, head of a department, head of health. I even see her as head of Homeland Security, Secretary of State, one of those type roles. But when you're talking about the nation's highest office, it takes more than just to be a smart person to hold that office. I mean, you got to be smart, obviously, but there's so many other qualities that go into that particular post. You got to be able to have people feel good about the nation, feel good about themselves. You got to be able to take situations and put it so people can understand it. You got to be the nation's enthusiasm, the nation's optimist, right? So, and with Carla Farina, so many times when I was listening to it, it was like being called into the principal's office. You know, I felt like I was in trouble. So I don't know if she is someone that's going to translate well into the White House. Or someone I just don't see people considering her for that highest office. But look, I'm one person. We're a nation of well over 300 some million people. There's going to be a lot of people weighing in. That's just my take on it. But again, I think that the Fox did themselves a disservice trying to ambush Donald Trump. But that kind of thing, I think, can backfire. The Donald may very well stumble on his own going forward. But that should be for the people to decide how they feel about that. No news organization should try to frame a politician in such a way as to influence what I think about him or what the American people think about him. And I think to a large extent, that's what Fox News did last night, and I hope it backfires.